Big Sills! I would say to you, and we said this a couple days ago, the National Football League. You know, and you know what the problem that most sportscasters have now? Do you know what they immediately do to their shows? They implode it. Do you know how they implode it? They start talking basketball and baseball. When you just came out of a sport that had 200 million people across all platforms, watch that Super Bowl 58. You immediately go to, well, this is what's next. No. This country is now a football-centric country. The television ratings show you that. The TV shows show you that. People don't want to sit around talking about, the LeBron story's kind of interesting, but not really. People want to know what their teams are going to do now in the offseason. How can I get to look like Kansas City? How can I get my team in a position where they're a Super Bowl contending football team again? That's where we are now. Sitting around talking about spring training. Now, look, that's good, especially when you got a team like the Phillies. Or you got a team like, Dodger baseball doesn't even draw. You should see their atrocious television ratings. Dodger baseball doesn't draw. Baseball is without a doubt regionalized because of the networks they have. Football is across all platforms. It'll never dry up. Plus, the NFL does a great job with its content. It's spectacular. So look at this. I have 35 pieces of paper here with content on it from football. I mean, no doubt, they now run the sports world. So let's get into it. So once again, I will ask the question out of the gate about your boy Hassan Reddick. You think he's worth mortgaging your future when it comes to flexibility? Do you think he's worth your future payroll flexibility by cutting a deal with him? Do you? I completely do not. I completely do not. Hey, and I like how his agent is playing bad guy, good guy. Hassan's the good cop. The agent's kind of the bad cop. You see, right now, no one has to be an asshole. But the agent will eventually be the asshole because you know why? At the end of the day, it comes to a point where someone has to say, what are we doing here? And that's when the money gets conversation going. The money always ends it. Hassan Reddick wants, I love Philly. Hey, it's the best place. I was born at the NovaCare Center. My mom conceived me at the NovaCare Center. Oh my God, I love it here in Philly. It's the best thing on the planet. Oh my God, I love it here. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yeah, well, I got 15 million reasons that I would say the same shit. I'd play on Pluto. Hey, I'd play on Pluto. Right? I mean, 15 million bucks. And everyone's like, I love the way that Hassan's playing this. Dude, this has nothing to do with the Eagles. This has everything to do with that $15 million. Everything to do. Okay? Everything they do is about money and about the money that he's making. He's in a good place right now, Hassan Reddick. He could sit around and talk that shit. I love it here. Who cares where you're playing? Long as you're making $15 million. Dude, I love it here. What if they ask you for a pay cut? Dude, he is not worth your payroll flexibility. He is not worth that. And I think the Eagles have made it clear to him that this is the direction they're heading. Maybe they haven't made it clear yet. Because what you don't want to do before free agency, before you see the guys and what market value is for some of these other dudes, you really don't want to kind of show your hand right now because it hasn't officially started. So do you see it ramping up? Everybody, Derrick Henry's people are talking. Everyone's talking now. I like how these negotiations are going. Okay, let's get into it here. I hate to do this to you guys. Man, once again, your guy Jalen Hurts, no one thinks shit of this kid. It's funny. Tone and I yesterday were putting together a top 10 list on quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm going to take a sports page. And this is, again, I mean, this guy has one, you know what? Maybe they're not far off because you know why? Hurts hasn't done enough to consider him one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's only had one good year. He's going into his fourth year starting. Now, do I think he's as low as this guy has him on the list? No. Or these people or this website? No, I do not. However, I think the national media look at Jalen Hurts. This is a guy that was in the MVP conversation halfway through the season. And here we go. So this website here, 33rd team. This is fantastic. This is what I talk about when it comes to content. Quarterback power rankings. Mahomes. Okay, I think that's universally recognized. He's the best in the business. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. Okay, he's the reigning MVP. Why not? Josh Allen. That's Big Sills' guy. He's 3rd? Wow. Funny, the only people that don't think shit of Josh Allen are people in Philly. Boy, that's a shame. Number 4, Justin Herbert. He's never taken a team to a Super Bowl. Number 5, Matthew Stafford. Even I chuckled at that one a little bit. Number 6, Dak is back. Man, I wouldn't trust that guy with a dime, but he's 6th. 7, CJ Stroud. Where's Jalen, man? Oh, just got to be in the top 10 somewhere. Number 8, Trevor Lawrence. What? Number 9, Joe Burrow. Number 10, Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers. So here's your top 10. Mahomes 1, Jackson 2, Allen 3, Herbert 4, Stafford 5, Prescott 6, Stroud 7, Lawrence 8, Burrow 9, and Love 10. I didn't have in my top 10, I didn't have Burrow, Lawrence. I didn't have Burrow and Lawrence. The rest of them I had. Now we go to 11. Kyler Murray. Where the hell is Jalen? Arizona Cardinals. Number 12. Oh, my God. Geno Smith. Number 13, Kirk Cousins. Number 14, Jared Goff. Guy was in the NFC title game. Number 15, Aaron Rodgers. He played 4 seconds. Where the hell is Jalen? Number 16, Anthony Richardson. Okay, we're down to 16. Where's your boy Hurts? Hurts season. Where is it? Number 17, Jalen Hurts. Oh, my God. This website took a shit on Jalen. They've got Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, and Kyler Murray ranked ahead of your guy. Hurts is ranked ahead of Purdy, who's 18. Tagovailoa, who's 19. Mayfield, 20. This is stuff that I'm talking about. Jalen has to reprove himself again. The only thing he has right now is his money. I don't think that website is alone in how they look at him. Now, look, do the players look at Jalen like that? No way. I do not believe that. I don't. Geno Smith ahead of Goff. Jared Goff not in the top 10. That list immediately lost credibility. That's my guy, Tone. By the way, John McMullen will join us at 3:30, Tone at 4:30. What do I think of that list? I don't give a shit about the list. But what I do give a shit about is public perception and how people see Hurts now. People have been waiting for Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. Look how far Purdy is on that list. The guy had one of the best quarterback seasons in the league. He lost the Super Bowl. Didn't play superstar in the Super Bowl. He played okay. I saw people posting this too. He did not play at the level Hurts played at last year. I thought Brock Purdy was good, but was he Jalen Hurts good? No. Come on. I may give Jalen Hurts some shit, but let's be fair. I mean, if you're going to give Hurts shit, kind of has some context to it. I mean, Hurts is would we not make this comment? Jalen Hurts' greatest football game that he played in was the Super Bowl. And I know it's a loss and it sucks. But would we not say this? Jalen Hurts, his best game he's ever played is Super Bowl 57. Would you not say that? For what the game meant? What he did in it? The scoop and score sucks too, I get it. So maybe you kind of maybe back up on that a bit. But that has to be one of his greatest games he's ever played. Purdy outplayed him? I don't think so. Look, and this is me. I'm a critic of Jalen Hurts, but Brock Purdy did not outplay Jalen Hurts at Super Bowl 58. He did not. I have to say that. Exactly. I'm glad you said it first. The world was waiting for Purdy and Hurts to stumble. Yeah, look at where they're ranked. You know why? They're not first rounders. They're not first rounders. And again, I don't give a shit about a list. I give a shit more how, dude, the league looks at Hurts and Purdy. Can I tell you this? The only reason that Dak Prescott, okay, the only reason that Dak Prescott gets the love he gets is because he's the Cowboy quarterback. And it doesn't matter where you're drafted. You could be the last player taken in the draft or a free agent like Tony Romo. Doesn't it? Tony Romo was on network television calling Super Bowls. He was no first rounder. He was a UDFA. This guy had the same distinction as TJ Edwards. But he's revered like Aikman. You would swear he's got Aikman's resume. That's because he's the Dallas Cowboy. It's the only position in the NFL at quarterback that it doesn't matter where you're drafted because you're the Dallas Cowboy quarterback. But if you're the Philadelphia Eagle quarterback and you stumble, you're back to the back of the bus. Just like every other guy not drafted. Like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's at the back of the bus. Hey, sorry, we're who you thought we were. No, not really. System quarterback. That's the stupidest thing. All these quarterbacks, there's 32 systems. Because you tailor a system to Jalen. Hey, what happened to the system this year with Hurts? What happened to the system? I thought they had a system. Oh, Hurts is not a system quarterback? He had Shane Steichen's system that he made for Hurts, and they couldn't duplicate it. That's what happened. Purdy had the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game and settled for a field goal. So let me get this right, Reg. You actually think that Brock Purdy made that decision instead of going for the touchdown and kicking the field goal? You think that was his call? Hey, this just in. Kansas City's good on defense. You had to get points there. The problem was taking the ball and not deferring it. That was the mistake. Not kicking the field goal. You have to take the points in overtime. Why would you not take the points? It's a dumb take. If you take the football, you have to take anything you're given at that time in overtime. So what are you going to do? Kick it off? And all you have to do is what? You ensure Kansas City has to go half the length of the field to tie the game up instead of have to go the entire distance. Do you understand what Shanahan did by doing that was that he gave Kansas City exactly what they needed. They only had to go half the field to kick a game-time field goal anyway. So they knew we win it with a touchdown. You took the element of chance away. Hey, you have to figure it out. The pressure's on Mahomes. But you see, here and here was the problem. I gotta get it. Mahomes went on a giant drive to tie the game up, right? They went on a giant drive. I think that defense was gassed. And I think that's why they took the ball. Okay? He may not have known exactly the rules of overtime, but wasn't that, what a tone or someone, could someone tell me? Was that thing like a 13-play drive at the end of the game? I think that defense was gassed. And they wanted to get the defense off the field and give them a rest so that they can give them a shot to at least have some sort of gas in the gas tank when it came to defending Mahomes in the overtime. That's the only reasoning I can see why you take the ball, is because at the end of that ball game, okay, at the end of that ball game, that they had to give that defense some rest. It was an 11-play drive at the end of the fourth quarter. Dude, both teams had been in a fistfight for 60 minutes. And I really did think San Francisco was gassed at the end. And so what are you going to do? You're going to put that defense, after going an 11-play drive at the end of regulation, you're going to put them back on the field again? It's the only reasoning to me that makes sense why they took the ball. Is because I think Shanahan thought, got to get him off the field. Got to give him a chance to defend. Okay? Now, you could have called timeout too. And you could have called timeout after the first down to give your team a little bit of a rest. You could have done something like that. But I think they did that. And, hey, do I think some of the players didn't know the overtime rules? I probably think some of them didn't, okay? But I would also say that you had to get that defense off the field. Flexing goes, excuses? No, I just think that's facts. It was a slugfest. I don't think anyone should feel sorry for themselves. The team with the better coach and quarterback won. It's simply the game was won and lost in the margins. Absolutely, man. It was a drag out fight. And just like last year, the better quarterback and coach won. That's what it came out to. One day, you'll see, you know what's crazy? You beat the better coach and better quarterback in 17, which is such an incredible comment. Very seldom does that happen. You beat the best coach and the best quarterback in NFL history with a backup quarterback and Doug Peterson. I think that shows the greatness of Peterson and that coaching staff you had. I think your coaching staff was superior to Belichick's coaching staff. Bill may be a great coach, but I think the Eagle coaching staff in 17 was better. That's why you won. And that's why you lost in 22. Because you didn't have the better staff. Kansas City did. With Spagnuolo and Andy calling the plays. And Mahomes firing the pistol. Okay? That's what won. That was the difference in that game. That was actually the difference in both games. Okay? After 10 years, we have to stop talking about it. So that means we have to win soon. Mr. International, didn't you talk about the 1960 title for what, 50 some odd years? About how will we win a title? The Red Sox fans talked for 86 years or 87 years with the Ruth curse. Chicago Cub fans talked forever about not winning a World Series. Okay? That's your greatest moment in Eagle history, is 17. It's okay to reflect back to that. And I happen to agree now, more so than ever, that Doug Peterson won that game. And it was kind of, it was kind of lucky. And things worked out. You had great coaching. And what makes it harder for the Eagles to deviate off their plans is they went back in 22. That's why you're going to get the same old, same old. And that's why I'm going to go here with this topic. Will the Eagles be aggressive enough this offseason to make the team a true Super Bowl contender again? Will you be aggressive enough? The 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, the last 3 years, have been aggressive. You want me to point out the aggressive plays that Kansas City and San Francisco have done in the last 3 years? Yeah, last 3 years. Okay? Joshua. You're probably right, Joshua. Okay? Will they be aggressive enough this offseason? Sills, with 10-1, you support dude who trashed his teammate the day after the game. I'm not sure what that means. You have to explain yourself some more. 49ers training for McCaffrey and Tatone, trading away Trey Lance, signing Hardgrave, and trading for Chase Young. Yes. Okay. And as for the Kansas City Chiefs, trading away Tyreek Hill, getting your draft choices, and building your defense back up. Okay? Think about what San Francisco traded a ton of draft picks away to Carolina. And can you imagine walking in? And I've said this to you. You imagine walking in to Patrick Mahomes' room and telling him, we just traded Hill. How do you feel about that? Damn. Man, who am I throwing to? Kelsey? Won't they know? Trust me. We're going to keep your window, Super Bowl window, open and expand it because the other side of the ball and you are going to be balanced. Do you understand? The reason we gave you $500 million is because we believe that with all the transition in the NFL that goes on every year, we think you can fill the gap. They didn't believe Juju Smith-Schuster could fill the gap. They believed Mahomes could, and he did. By the way, I got to say something else about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is handling this Tom Brady conversation like a true professional. He's like this. Hey, man, Tom's the greatest quarterback in the history. I'm not even halfway there. Don't compare me to that guy. The guy's one of the greatest, and he is the greatest. Then you got Brady going, I'm giving you the keys. Patrick Mahomes says all the right things for a guy that's in that position. I think he's humble. I think he believes it. I think his teammates love him. This guy has a lot of Brady in him, man. And I'm talking about how he connects with his teammates. Let me ask you something here about Patrick Mahomes. You think Patrick Mahomes, when you look at him, you think Jalen Hurts has the same relationship with his teammates that Patrick Mahomes has with his? I'm willing to argue Kansas City was patient with that defense. With the wide receivers that could have panicked. Oh, absolutely. Trade deadline and traded for anybody. You think Jalen Hurts has the same relationship with his team that Patrick Mahomes does with his teammates? This is nothing to do with ability. This is to do with connectability. Okay? Do you think he has the same respect in the locker room that Jalen Hurts does? Happy Valentine's to you. Nope. That's saying something. Nope. If they trade AJ and Jalen has another bad season, I'll say a lot. It'll say a lot about him. Hell no. Eagle coaches were soft this year. So only Reyes says that Jalen Hurts has the same relationship that Patrick Mahomes has with his teammates. How many people believe that Tom Brady had a great relationship with his teammates in New England and in Tampa? Okay? Do you? You guys are going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to be aggressive to fix this. Going to have to be aggressive. If you stand pat with what you have, you're going to do what Angelo said. You're going to win 5 ball games. You're going to win 5 games. How do you become aggressive? Slager said, Covey said that they ran the exact same shit on offense this year and got figured out that Brian Johnson wasn't allowed to change Sirianni's shit-stale schemes. Okay? This wasn't all about coaching this last year. It was probably half of it. What will qualify as aggressive moves, in your opinion, for the 24 season for the Eagles? It's a great take, Tone. Okay? Trading away Hassan Reddick. Creating cap space so that I could fill multiple positions. And you want to hear this? Jalen Hurts' contract is not hurting your team. The most detrimental contracts on your team are your corners. It's not even really Reddick. It's really not Reddick, and it's really not Fletcher's contract. It's the corners that are killing you. You've got to either eat the money, but then if you eat the money, you can't make moves. You're kind of stuck here. This is going to take all of Howie's powers to figure this Rubik's Cube out, because those corner contracts are killing you. You've got to do it. And by the way, you can't eat the money and cut them, because if you have dead cap money, you're done. Brady might have not had the best relationships with all his teammates, but they respected him. I think Brady had great relationships with just about each and every single one of them. I've never heard anybody say any talking shit about Tom Brady outside of that idiotic Antonio Brown. I've heard a ton of people talk shit on Aaron Rodgers. Then again, to be candid, I've never heard anyone talk shit on Jalen. I've never heard it. For them to be aggressive and to get back into a Super Bowl window, it's in Denver. You've got to land him. Nobody in the draft is going to help you. Nobody in the draft is going to help the Philadelphia Eagles get back to being Super Bowl contender. You're not a Super Bowl contender on February 14th, Valentine's Day. You are not a Super Bowl contender. How do you get back to being a Super Bowl contender? You've got to get surefire things and can't miss. You've got to create cap space to get Surtain in the building. And in my opinion, you sign Chase Young. You put him on the other end of Josh Sweat. You go into the draft. You draft a corner, and you draft an edge rusher, and you draft a linebacker. Because, folks, they're going to go to battle with Nakobe Dean and Zach Cunningham. You've got to land on a linebacker in the college ranks, and you got to land on a corner in the college ranks. At the end of the day, you also have to restructure somehow. Bradbury, I think Bradbury and Slay have massive leverage over the Eagles. If the Eagles had $40 million in cap space, they wouldn't. The two players that have the most leverage on Howie right now are James Bradbury and Darius Slay have more leverage than any football players on that football team right now. You know why? Their dead cap money destroys you. Destroys you. Chase Young is lazy. You must have missed the Super Bowl, kid. You must have missed the Super Bowl. And by the way, MG, Brandon Graham is finished. He has nothing left. Nothing left. Okay? Nothing. If Chase Young sucks, so does Brandon. Worse. The only way you have to be aggressive here. Status quo business, you're going to win 5 games. I say you're in between 5 and 8 games this year. Okay? Hey, Sills, I'm sure Mahomes doesn't walk into a room with Reed and think he's got more power. Hurts just must look at Nick like a substitute teacher. Yes. That's why, but Jalen needs to be more of a leader in the locker room because he doesn't have a leader at that coaching position. And when you're isolating him like the Eagles do, it's kind of hard to have leadership in your locker room. Get this. This is what the Philadelphia Eagles management has done to Jalen Hurts. They've not only clipped him on the field, but they've also neutered him in the locker room. Your coach is a substitute teacher, and your quarterback is isolated by the franchise. And by the way, you know what that was? That's not from me. That's Jeff Kerr saying that. When you walk into a locker room, he's just not accessible. He said it. I didn't. How can you have leadership when you're not accessible? And then Britton Covey tried walking that back. And then the other day, when he's on Radio Row, he's telling people, hey, guess what? It was a disconnect between the players and coaches. Well, shit. Everything kind of lines up now. Jalen Hurts is better than Brock. He's not more accomplished. They're pretty even. You may say, hey, don't go by athleticism. Who's the better athlete? Because that's not who the better quarterback is. Like Brady and Rodgers. Rodgers is the better player. Brady's a better quarterback. You confuse that. People tie that in. Josh Allen is a better gifted athlete than Jalen Hurts. Jalen kind of wins a little more. So is he the better quarterback? 25 games in the last 2 years. Last year, what was it? Buffalo won 13. They won 11. They won 24 this year. It's kind of right there in the same room. Kind of the same guy. Big Sales, how you doing, my friend? Lori and Howie think these new hires are going to help Sirianni get the locker room back. Dude, the only thing that gets the locker room back is results. They got to get results. Okay? Sills, can you get Surtain for 3 second-round? No. Denver wants ones. He's ones. Don't go there, guys. Don't try. You're not going to get Patrick Surtain like you didn't get Christian McCaffrey. Can you imagine what your offense would have looked like if Howie was able to pull that off? And once again, he wasn't aggressive enough. San Francisco was. San Francisco was the aggressive one on McCaffrey, and it put him in a Super Bowl. It might have put him in 2 if Purdy had not gotten hurt. Like I said yesterday to you, Christian McCaffrey, in his 33 games since he's been a Niner, has scored 39 touchdowns in 33 games as a San Francisco 49er. How would that have looked behind Hurts? Having a guy that productive. I could make the argument to you that Christian McCaffrey is more of a factor in the 49er huddle than what A.J. Brown is in your huddle. Why? He does more. Hence the conversation on Reddick. Reddick doesn't do a lot. He pass rushes. That's it. And I took into account last night what Tone said. Is he the norm? Again, edge rushers are different in certain 43s and 34s. See, he's more, in my opinion, Reddick is more of a 34 guy than a 43 guy. Okay? Like you said, I mean, some of these guys, I mean, when you look at Myles Garrett's a big dude. He doesn't drop back in coverage a lot. And yet they still consider him edge. He's more like Micah and TJ and players of that ilk. Okay? Christian McCaffrey's fumbled in the Super Bowl. Yeah, Jalen Hurts had a scoop and score in the Super Bowl. Happens, kid. Okay? Happens. He was a non-factor in the Super Bowl. I think Christian McCaffrey was the only thing they had going. Almost had 100 yards. Didn't he have something like 135, 140 yards in total offense in that game? I don't know what the hell game you were watching. Deebo Samuel and Kittle and Ayuk were non-factors in that game. Now they're bitching. Okay? I mean, Christian McCaffrey had 160 yards in total offense and a touchdown. Correct. He was the entire offense for the San Francisco 49ers. So when you say he was a non-factor, that's not correct, made up, fake news. Okay? The question is, who trades for AJ and what would you get? Shit, if you put A.J. Brown on the open market, okay, that's a great call. What did Green Bay get for Davante Adams? Somebody looked that up. Jennings was great. He was. What did the Packers get for Davante Adams? You can make the argument that McCaffrey trade immediately put them in. Yes. McCaffrey is solely responsible for that Super Bowl berth. And I can make the argument again that McCaffrey is responsible for putting the 49ers in 2 straight NFC championship games. And that the person that helped him become a player in today's NFL at quarterback, Brock Purdy, is McCaffrey, not Debo. Kyle says, so wait, the Packers got 2 1s and 2 2s for Davante Adams. Whew. What could the Eagles do with 2 1s and 2 2s to rebuild your defense? Christian McCaffrey has more value than Debo, Kittle, and Ayuk combined. That's why Howie wanted him. What's his name goes, AJ will not be traded. You're not going to win with it. You ain't winning a Super Bowl with AJ Brown on your roster. Just like Minnesota's not winning a Super Bowl with Justin Jefferson on his roster. Just like all these high-powered $20 million wide receivers. You're not winning a Super Bowl with a $20 million wide receiver. You're not. You're not winning one. When the Buccaneers won a Super Bowl, what do you think? Mike Evans was making 20? He's not making 20. Kupp got his money in the offseason after they won the Super Bowl. Actually, gave the Rams a hometown discount. I think he's making 16. I mean, AJ may not be traded this offseason, but you all better believe Howie and that front office are currently weighing the options and pros and cons for 25 and 26. You bet. Dude, this guy has got another year in Philly at most. Okay? At most. Okay? 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s could go a long way in retooling your defense. You guys are not Super Bowl contenders. You're going to have to do a tough decision here. Okay? That's right. You need multiple players. And you don't have a ton of money. Okay? That's not right. The Packers got 1 first-round pick and 1 second-round pick to the Packers, 2022 first-round pick, and a 22nd. That doesn't make sense. Okay? You picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Diggs is a $24 million a year wide receiver, and he's being cut June 1. Okay? Yeah, these guys, these wide receivers don't help you. These big money wideouts don't help you. They don't help you win Super Bowls. They just don't. Raiders acquire Adams from the Packers. Just 4 days after Adams informed Green Bay that he would not play on the franchise tag, the Raiders sent a first round and a second rounder to the Packers for Adams. Well, there's your money. There's your equity right there. That's what you would get for AJ. Probably a 1 and a 2. Probably a 1 and a 2. And depending on what Adams' age is, if he's younger, you might get a 3. A 1 and a 3 for AJ. Yeah. Remember something. You can't trade him to a place that's got a big-time quarterback. Like, you can't trade him to Kansas City. You can't trade him to Cincinnati. You can't trade AJ to Baltimore. You could trade him to Houston. You could trade him to Indianapolis. Okay, but you can't trade him to any of these guys. You can't trade him to the Chargers. You see, Sills, here's the problem. Some of the fans want to get to the Super Bowl without making tough decisions. That's not how this thing works. You got to get a little. You got to give a little. Absolutely. And what's the problem with the Eagles is you're unbalanced. You're here with your off. Hey, do the Eagles have a Super Bowl offense? When it's working, yes. The Eagles have a trash defense. Well, you're 8-9, 9-8. You're not winning games with that team. You already saw it. You went 1-7 down the stretch, and you lost to the shittiest quarterbacks on a. You know what's crazy? Not only did they figure you out, but they figured it out to a point where shitty quarterbacks beat you. And at the beginning of the season, you were beating quality quarterbacks. Shit, you beat the reigning Super Bowl MVP in a regular season game in Kansas City. And then you turn around and you lose to Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito. You lose to guys like that? How's that possible? They figured it out, and you fell apart. A.J. Brown, you guys fall in love with these guys like they're your cousins. It's stupid. Okay? It's totally stupid. I mean, do you not? Either you believe in Jalen Hurts or you don't. Look at the players that teams like Green Bay, Kansas City have all moved off of. Look at the players. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Honey Badger, Orlando Brown, Tyreek Hill. Look at the players they've moved off of, and they're better. Look at Seattle. They're better. Since they moved off of Wilson. You think Denver's better than Seattle? I don't. $50 million means they believe in Jalen. Really? L. Jennings, the $50 million is as much of a rouge as your 10-1 record was. That doesn't mean he's successful. That means they believe he will be successful. Most of those $50 million deals don't work. Let's figure this out for a second. How many quarterbacks that have signed these big, giant extensions have gotten a second contract? Name me one. Mahomes. Who else? I'll wait. What? Name me one. Of the $50 million quarterbacks, got a second contract. Can you name me one? I'll take one. Guy is signed 38 to 39 and they got a $50 million deal. Can you name me one? No. Josh Allen was on a rookie deal. Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford's not making $50 million. Matt Stafford's making in the $30 million range. Isn't he making 38? Yeah, I don't even believe he's making 40. Most of the $50 million guys just got those deals, but I definitely understand your point. When you pay the quarterback big money, you better hope it's the guy. Most of those deals don't work. Think Kyler Murray's going to fulfill his deal? You think he gets a second contract? Josh Allen's making 50? It was an extension. So? Here. Think Joe Burrow gets another extension? I'd be hesitant to give Joe Burrow an extension. You know why? What's his health like in 4 years, 3 years? We talked about it yesterday. Well, you think that's getting better? Would I give Joe Burrow another $60 million deal? I don't know. Lamar's 2-4. How long am I going to go with that? What by the time if he's there, and guess what? He's 3-6 in the postseason. Are you going to put $50, $60 million in his pocket? Here, let's just do this. How many people believe the Dallas Cowboys should pay Dak Prescott $60 million? How many people believe we should pay him 60? Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers. He's a 4-time MVP. Yes. There you go. Aaron Rodgers. And he's won a Super Bowl. I would say Aaron Rodgers is the first ballot Hall of Famer. Super Bowl MVP. Super Bowl and 4-time most valuable player. Yeah, that worked. That's a deal that worked. Mahomes and Rodgers. Yeah. Yeah. Mahomes and Rodgers. 2 Super Bowl champions. They delivered. When CJ Stroud is due to get paid, those numbers are going to be astronomical. Yeah. There'd be no Nico Collins on that team because Collins continues to prove and improve the way he is. That guy's going to make $25 million himself, $20 million, because he's benefiting from Stroud being in the room. He clearly is. I think that kid is maybe one of the quietest stars on the horizon. Is that kid Collins down in Houston? He's a good-looking football player. That kid runs Devontae Smith routes, and he has got hands like Chris Carter. He's a good football player. That's another one of those guys on the horizon that they got down there. Okay? Sills, here's the flip side. AJ question. What would the Eagles get for Smitty? I'm not even debating that, Brown, because I want him as an Eagle until he's 35. I have no interest in that. I have no interest. Okay? I have none of that. No interest in any of that. You're going to have to be aggressive. A-Track says Howie Roseman will draft D-line, O-line with the first pick. It's not horrible. They use thirds and needs, mostly like running backs, DBs, and LBs. A-Track's an Eagle fan, isn't he, Tone? He'll never sign a running back unless friendly rip-off deals. A-Track's an Eagle fan because that's pretty much their operation and how they work. Okay? That's pretty much how they do it. Trade AJ for the Broncos. Dude, I actually love that. Would you trade AJ Brown for Patrick Surtain? Man, I love that. What a great topic. Straight up. Would the Broncos do that? Would the Broncos do that? AJ Brown for Patrick Surtain. Would Denver do that? Yeah, he's 24. And that's more of a critical position on winning Super Bowls. Ask Kansas City with their 2 corners. Dude, cornerback is more valuable than wide receiver. Do you not look at these big money guys? They don't win Super Bowls. Great cornerback played us. Jesus criminy. You don't actually think wide receiver is more valuable than a corner who has to play with his back to the game the entire time? You're out of your tree. The Denver would have to make that decision. AJ Brown is not more valuable than Patrick Surtain. You're out of your mind. Ask any NFL guy. Corners are more valuable than wideouts. What are you, crazy? Wideouts. Those big money wideouts don't win Super Bowls. If the Eagles approach this offseason like the last with the same formula and philosophy, they will win 5 games. How we must be aggressive completely. You know what? And to Tone, your point, it's got to either involve Hassan or it's got to involve the DBs. Something has to give if you're going to retool, because you're not in a healthy environment when it comes to here's the problem. Even if he gets all the picks, he's qualified. Maybe more than ever has. Oh no. You're running. Listen, this is all about Hurts. This is all about Hurts. Hurts would probably pay on AJ to stay. No, he wouldn't. So you think Clutch Sports is going to go, here's $10 million to stay? Come on, man. Okay? Come on, man. Would love to see the money for receivers become similar to the running backs. Brian? You see, you got to remember something, Brian. Why do you think the numbers at wide receiver, when it comes to salaries, and the wide receiver position has exploded over the last 10 years? Fantasy football, gambling, prop bets, the fantasy football with guys getting huge numbers. Running backs, they don't last long. Receivers, it's part of the game. Big scoring. That's why the rules have changed. Most kids coming out of college today, used to be running backs were a big premium coming out of college. There's still big-time running backs coming out of college anymore. Not like there used to be back in the day where you would have tons of running backs. Eric Dickerson, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, all these big-time backs that would come out all in a bunch. You don't see those guys coming out anymore. How many first-round running backs have been drafted in the last 10 years? 5 in the first round? Back in the day, they were littered everywhere. It's not the position it used to be. Shit, man, how many wide receivers were taken in this past draft? How many wide receivers were taken in? What do you say that there's a minimum of 10 wide receivers taken in every NFL draft out of the 32 picks? There's a shitload of wideouts that are drafted every year in the first round. First 3 rounds, they're littered with wideouts. The 65% of the Pro Bowlers that are in the league today were second-round picks and not first-round picks. First-round pick to Denver, draft defense in the second. You got to land something that's going to change your landscape and give you a facelift on defense. You've got to. We're going to talk to John McMullen about this, about being aggressive when it comes to doing something, because there's multiple holes here. Would we not agree? Both safeties need to be addressed. Both corners have to be addressed. I'm not saying getting rid of anybody here. I'm talking about what you're looking at here. Would we not agree the whole back end has to be looked at? Free and strong. CB1 and CB2. Both your linebackers. Okay? That's 6. You have to replace Graham. That's 7. You have to get help and depth at both. That's your depth. That's 8, 9. You've got to figure out what you're doing with Fletcher. You got 10 critical decisions to make on what you're going to do. And then you got to just figure out what you're going to do with Reddick. Your football team's not a complete rebuild, but your defense is. It's in a complete rebuild. Get this. What I don't get is you're philosophically not going to change how you approach your defense in games, but your entire roster's changing over on that side of the ball. Whew. And you think that's going to be an overnight change? That Tinkerbell's going to come in and wave her wand and all of a sudden you're a top 15 defense? Man, that's really aggressive thinking. You're more optimistic than a lot of people are. You get this. You guys changed out, what was it, 4 players last year and your coordinator, and it was a train wreck. You've got to make 10 to 12 different decisions on defense. Okay? And you change your coordinator. And yet you think that is going to be more conducive to success than what it was a year ago. And you won 11 games. And I happen to agree with some of you. Sills, pick a side here. Do you want Howie to have draft choices? Or do you want Howie to go get veteran guys? It's great. You're right. I'm caught in the middle in this a little bit, and I don't like to be. Being on the fence is not my game. Do I trust him with 13 or 14 draft picks? Man, I don't know. Do I trust Howie getting Surtain? Yeah, a lot. Do I trust him figuring out Reddick's contract? Yeah, a lot. Do I trust him figuring out Bradbury and Slay's deal? Yeah, I do. Do you trust him drafting a corner? No way. No way. Do you trust him drafting a replacement for Graham? No way. Absolutely no way. Okay? No way. You got to be the worst GM of all time to blow 13 picks. I mean, you know why I picked that number, Tone? 13 picks? I'm hoping to land on 4. Because 4 would get you home a little bit, and you would kind of look like Kansas City did the year they played you in the Super Bowl. Look, I'll tell you flat out, if the Eagles got to 15, you might be able to work with that and get yourself into a divisional round. Because I didn't think Kansas City's defense, when you played them in the Super Bowl, was that overly impressive. This group here against San Francisco was exceptionally impressive, and Spagnuolo was terrific. Personally, Spagnuolo, in my opinion, I thought he coached a better game than Andy did. I just thought he coached a better game. If you land on even 3 players, it could change everything, absolutely. Look, I'll tell you what. At the end of the day, you want to hear something crazy here? Let me throw something crazy. Would you rather have Devin Witherspoon or Jalen Carter on your roster? By the way, I love both players. Remember I told you Devin Witherspoon was my favorite ball player in the draft. Sills, don't you agree the defense can't get any worse than it did last year? If we make just the obvious changes needed in a competent DC, Des, you're not. It's not over the top. Okay. So you'd rather have on your football team, where you struggle the most in your secondary, you'd rather have Carter. I love both players. I love both players. You know what I think of Jalen Carter? It's a tough one. But check this out. The scary thing is that the Chiefs' defense is going to get better. AFC's cooked. But you see, you know what, Tone? Hey, I'll tell you this. Guys, I was dead wrong about that Galifianakis kid, the kid from Purdue. He's a freaking player. Didn't they get him in the second round, or did they get him in the bottom end of the first? Was that Kansas City's like 32nd pick or something like that when they picked him? Kind of the same place that Nolan Smith was drafted. That kid need to get Queen. Jeremy, you're not paying $20 million for that guy. You're at the wrong store. You're at the wrong store. So as I was screaming at the top of my lungs for the Eagles to draft Carl Falakis out of Purdue. What pick did he go? Because, man, I'll tell you what, he's a good look. I was wrong on him because when I watched him at Purdue, I thought I watched him get blocked quite a few times. He was the 30th pick. That kid was drafted right around the same pick that Nolan Smith was drafted, and that kid is going to be a star. Look at Kansas City hitting on their picks and the Eagles not. Okay, round 1, 30th pick. Picking at the bottom of the draft. And you landed on a potential all-pro. That's, dude, winning a Super Bowl and drafting at the bottom of the draft and hitting on your picks is unbelievably successful. I think the higher up you are in the draft, it's tougher to draft. Seriously. Because you know why? The players don't line up. It's more of an opinion. The further you get down in the draft, what happens? Next player available, best player available. And if you have a need for it, you start landing on guys. I mean, Howie's better from round, would we not agree? Howie's better from round 3 on. They do a better job from round 3 on. 6'4", 263. I like big edge rushers, not Schwimps. They last longer and are better in the run defense and setting the edge for sure. For sure. Okay. Sills, there is a chance that Spags knows how to use the kid. Absolutely. He's a tremendous defensive coordinator. Tremendous. Okay. Carter is the number 1 pick. Did you see on CBS if they had to redraft the draft who they said? They had Devin Witherspoon ahead of, I think they have Carter 8th if they redrafted last year's draft. And Witherspoon, I think, is 2nd. Or 3rd. Anthony Richardson, I think, is 2nd. I think it went Stroud, Richardson, and Witherspoon. So you'd rather have Jalen Carter than Devin Witherspoon. Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because your bigger need is in the secondary. See how that works? Who's the better player? Who's got the better upside? You know, he did work with Clint Hurt, too, who is a great coordinator, I think. No? Well, I'm just saying, man. How about this? If you had the draft right now with what your football team looks like today, you would take Jalen Carter still over Devin Witherspoon right now. What do you have more of a need of? Jacoby Dean was a 3rd rounder, and he's a bust. Yeah. Josh Sweat was a 4th rounder, and he's market value is worth $22 million. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's a tough one because they're both, I think, with great upside and great players. I do. Okay, it starts up front. You're right, but you fell apart up front. Taking the DB, Devin Witherspoon or Jalen Carter, if you had to draft again, who would you take? Wow. I love questions like this that make you think. And I think it's team related. Dude, the kid Christian Gonzalez in New England, I thought he got out to a great start too, the kid from Oregon. I thought he was a good-looking player too. Okay? Don't forget the piss-poor coaching. So you're expecting Jalen Carter to play better this year with Clint Hurt than you did with Tracy Rocker and with Vic Fangio. I do. Okay? I do. I do. I do. We're going to talk to our friend John McMullen at the bottom of the hour, and we will get his thoughts. What was the question here? Says, I got a question for you. When will you go to the gym? When your mom comes over and picks her shoes up, that's when I'll go to the gym. How's that for you? Hey, hit the like button. Big Sills is here. Keep it here on the National Football Show, baby.